Hey everyone, and welcome to the Balanced Bodies Blueprint. I am your host, Vinny Russo.
And I am your co-host, Dr. Eryn Stansfield.
And we're shifting gears from all the conventional fitness narrative you hear on most fitness podcasts, as our main emphasis lies in preventative healthcare, adopting a holistic approach to nutrition, and challenging the traditional views on various fitness topics.
Our mission with this podcast is to provide you with the information you need to achieve optimal health.
And on today's podcast, we are going to have Dr. Eryn go through her experience right now of being a new mom. It's not her first, but it's not her first rodeo, but it's been a while since she's had a kid.
Forget everything.
Yeah, so she's relearning as we go through this. But we're going to basically talk about her experience. We're going to get into some of the mentality that she has, because right now she's dealing with wanting to get back into the shape that she usually maintains. But we also have to keep in mind that she is also breastfeeding. So it's like, do we cut calories, to cut calories or not to cut calories? So I'm going to let her start it off with just giving an idea of what she's currently dealing with and her mindset that's, and the thoughts that kind of come in and out of her mind on a day-to-day basis with this.
Okay, so it's been, 6 weeks now? Almost 6 weeks, not quite 6 weeks.
Yeah, it's 5 in a couple days.
So I had a C-section. The recommendation for C-section is that you don't really have a lot of activity the first 6 weeks. So I haven't been released by my OBGYN to do activity.
Not that she listens.
Yeah, that being said, doctors make the worst patients, especially doctors who like to move. So I would say that after 2 weeks after the C-section, I felt a lot better, where I could start doing kind of some light activities. So the recommendation is that you just walk for those first 6 weeks. So you can do some walking, and then you shouldn't be carrying anything heavier than your baby, and not a ton of activity. Even with walking, you don't want to be too aggressive with walking. That is the medical recommendation from the OBGYN. However, like I said, the caveat to that is that I felt pretty good after about 2 weeks. So I looked at activities I could do as far as not straining my abdominal muscles, because obviously that is the area that was cut through. When they do the C-section, they do several layers of incisions, and then they also do several layers of repair. But one of the most critical ones are the abdominal muscles that are, depending on the OBGYN and how they do the C-section, are usually cut and usually sewn back together. I would say that's usually the case. It is rare that some OBGYNs don't close that with sutures. Anyway, so I looked at activities I could do that would not strain that part of my musculature, and the one that I came up with was using a spin bike, but not like sitting upright, kind of leaning forward. So I'm not using my abdominal muscles for stability. So I started doing that 2 weeks in, and I am only able to do that because my husband is watching the baby while I do that, because otherwise, if I don't have his help, then I am extremely sleep deprived and would have probably no energy to do that. It has been amazing being able to have some time to myself to do that particular activity. And when I first started it, it was just more that I hadn't worked out in probably the last trimester of the pregnancy, since the last trimester of the pregnancy, because I didn't feel well, and being very careful about the way that I felt during the pregnancy, I opted not to do a ton of movement that last trimester. So it was nice kind of getting back into an activity that I enjoyed. And for me, it was more of a mental thing, not really a physical thing. So it's been nice doing that. And I will go into more of what I've been doing, but I think you asked me about how I felt this pregnancy versus last pregnancy.
Yeah, so I remember what you telling me that like you had so much joint pain, you were in a ton of pain, you couldn't do anything in terms of working out your first pregnancy. This one you worked out all the way up until the last trimester, and then it was kind of like you just weren't feeling too well, so you refrained from doing it. And then I know last pregnancy, your first one that you had, you told me how quickly you got back to training, and you just wanted, I guess, vanity kind of set in, and you just really wanted to get back to your pre-baby weight, pre-pregnancy weight. And then you actually went beyond that. You went pretty extreme. And then this go around, it's sort of like you told me that you were going to not pursue that. And it's like it's almost like I could see you have the itch to want to do that. And I'm always reminding you to eat, and you got to have enough calories in you to make sure that you're producing milk. And you seem to be a little bit hesitant with eating, and you're more or less like, well, if I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. And I'm like, well, I feel like you should just make yourself eat a little bit, because we have to have those calories in to help with the milk production. So why don't you touch on what's going on inside of your head with that conflicting, those two conflicting ideologies, where you kind of want to get back in shape, or you still got to have calories in order to be able to produce enough milk.
Well, okay, so let's start at the beginning. So I had my last baby 10 years ago, which was
11 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, it's borderline 11 years ago now. He just turned 11. Anyway, so that pregnancy was drastically different. Obviously, I had a different partner, so I didn't have as much. I think I had a different kind of support. Let's put it that way. But also the mentality going when I got pregnant 10 years ago or 11 years ago. I was a competitor, so I was pretty lean when I got pregnant, and I had been competing, and I gained a ton of weight with that pregnancy. I gained about almost 70 pounds with that pregnancy. My baby was large, so I had to have a C-section, and you're right. I remember trying to work out, trying to like meal prep and like eat like my normal meals I had. I didn't have a nutritionist or anything like that to help me do this. I was doing it on my own. I was trying to, still trying to run and lift when I got pregnant that first time. And I was stopped abruptly because literally every joint in my body hurt. I don't know why, but every time I would try to work out, I couldn't do anything high impact for sure. And then
it's our dog
who's also sick right now.
You all right, bud? Yeah, he's good.
Anyway, so
we're not going to edit that out either. Yeah, Moose, you're on the podcast.
Anyway, so I would try to do things like light activity, like the elliptical, and that would hurt, and walking hurt, and everything hurt. So I stopped doing all activity, and a lot of that was my mindset of like, all right, this is a temporary state. I will, this will only happen for 9 months. I want to make sure that the pregnancy is okay. I don't want to do anything detrimental, and I also don't feel well, so I'm just going to do what I can. So I stopped working out, and then I kind of just gave in to, eating what I needed to eat at that time, which again subsequently made a ton of weight gain, not only baby weight, but I think I just gained weight because my body needed calories as well. Anyway, coming off of that pregnancy, I felt awful about my body. I was very body conscious. And even though I had a C-section, I remember trying to run quickly afterwards to try to get the baby weight off. My milk production stopped because I wasn't eating enough calories. I only breastfed my first son for 6 weeks. And it was really hard mentally, like to look in the mirror every day. And I started lifting as quickly as I could. So, as soon as I got the release I think at 6 weeks, I started doing some light lifting and really did cardio. And, I was probably, I don't know, up to an hour of cardio. And I don't think I gave my body enough time to recover. I got back down to my, baseline weight. I pretty quickly. I, don't remember the exact time. I wanted to compete again. And so I, before my son was even a year old, I competed. I was at the lowest body fat percentage that I'd ever achieved. I got down to like a 12% by bod pod body fat. I lost my menstrual cycle pretty quickly. My son wasn't even a year old, and I hit the stage, and I did qualify for the NPC Nationals. So, not recommended.
I will say though, one perk about being pregnant is if you do choose to go into a dieting phase after being pregnant, your BMR is pretty high because you just spent 9 months in a feeding phase. So your metabolism is pretty revved up. So dieting down is pretty easy postpartum.
I was going to say that is, I think, one of the reasons I was able to achieve that really low body fat percentage, because my metabolism was so high, I'd gained so much weight. So dieting down was, I would say the first 2 months wasn't very difficult, like mentally. It wasn't until later, till I was getting into lower percentages that it got a little bit harder, but also achievable. Whereas before the normal diet cycle, I couldn't have achieved that body fat percentage without having my metabolism so revved up.
Yeah, and then now with this new pregnancy, we're seeing a little bit of that start to trickle back in. I know the last 2 days I told you, you got to track to see where your calories are, because I felt like you were around, what did I say? I said like 11 to 1200 just by watching you eat. And you started tracking yesterday, and you were at what? I was between 11 and 12.
No, I was like at 1200, maybe 12 to 1300. But okay, let's start at the beginning of this too. So I gained less weight with this pregnancy. I felt a lot better, was able to do some cardio. I didn't lift a lot just because that was a recommendation by the OBGYN. And given that I was a little bit nervous about one, being pregnant and maintaining this pregnancy, I decided to follow that advice. And I know some women lift through their pregnancy. I opted not to. Not that is necessarily the right thing to do. It was just my choice. But I did do some cardio just kind of because, one, I like it. It's good for me mentally. And two, it helped me stay a little bit active. So I would say that I was able to work out throughout this pregnancy. I gained less weight this pregnancy. I want to say, let's see,
30 pounds, 35 pounds.
No, I gained more than that. I would say
you're what, 115 to 150, right?
55, yeah. 120, yeah, I guess so.
35 pounds.
Yeah, so a lot less weight with this pregnancy. Felt a lot better. It was a totally different world with this pregnancy. My baby was smaller this time around. And I would say that even though my baby was large, the first pregnancy, I didn't have gestational diabetes or anything like that. I just had a large child. And so Eva, our baby now, she was 7 pounds, 10 ounces. She was good size. So I didn't, I ate what I desired during this pregnancy. I didn't follow any nutrition plan.
A lot of mashed potatoes.
Yeah, I ate what I wanted to, and I just tried to have some activity. And so anyway, going into this pregnancy and feeling the way that I did, I felt pretty confident. I knew the first time around that I got my body back, if you will, even though I struggled to get it. But I knew that it was attainable, if you will. And so I was less stressed, I think, going into it mentally, as far as like, I need to get my body back, or I need to like achieve a certain weight or body fat. And I'm not competing. So there was a lot less, the mentality is a lot different, and I'm older and more mature, I feel like. But I will say that being pregnant and being a competitor, or being any kind of body conscious, that gaining that amount of weight and seeing your body change is one, amazing, that your body can do what it can do. But also, I would be remiss in saying that it's also can be difficult seeing those changes, and seeing your weight go up, and seeing your body change, and seeing, it doesn't look the same initially postpartum. It can get there, I feel like, depending on your genetics and your body habitus. But, seeing those changes can be difficult mentally sometimes when you look in the mirror. And I know it's still early. I kind of know the drill from the first pregnancy. You okay? Okay, sorry, our baby's with us. Anyway, so seeing that, I will say, to be forthcoming, it is difficult. It's not, even though I've been through it before, I thought that I was kind of over it, but there's still some vanity in there somewhere. And so when you first deliver, you see, if you get on the scale, you'll see your scale weight drastically drop from day to day, just because of changes with water shifting, and you are losing some weight, and you are healing. And so it's a lot of the interstitial fluid, like the third spacing, the fluid that happens after surgery, kind of starts to diminish, and you see your scale weight drop. And then at some point it plateaus, where that's kind of like where dieting or working out would probably get you past that plateau. Some people don't see that plateau. Some people get down to their baseline weight. That's kind of my experience, is there's some weight that you kind of plateau at. And then, for me, that's when I start saying, all right, do I need to cut calories? What's the goal here? Like, am I breastfeeding? What are the calorie requirements for breastfeeding? That sort of thing. And I think at the very beginning, when, I'd say the first few weeks after postpartum, I was very comfortable with, eating when I was hungry, and just, if I got a light workout in, that was good. But the more that I got into working out, the more I was liking it. And the more that I saw little changes in my body, it again kind of turns on that switch for me to be like, oh, I want to continue this. And maybe if I cut calories, my body will look different faster. And so with this baby, our goal was to breastfeed longer than I had with my first one. I will say that also, it's not just a vanity thing, but it's sometimes very difficult to get meals in because you are busy. So, being up at night, our daughter, the first couple weeks got up several times a night. And now it's kind of down to twice a night.
1 to 2 times.
Yeah. And Vinny usually gets up with her early in the morning, so I only have the middle of the night shift. But I like sleeping a lot. And so having that interruption in sleep, because I'm a big proponent of sleep too, and sleep quality, having that interruption in sleep can mess my sleep schedule up. And so usually he'll get the early morning shift, and I'll try to sleep in a little bit and then do a workout. And that has worked out. But then, as soon as I'm done with my workout, he's ready to go do something else. And so, I take the baby, and sometimes you just don't plan for your meals. And so for me, it's, if I don't eat early, or, I can wait until probably noon or 1 to eat my first meal, and I'm not really that hungry. And so when he said, I'm eating when I'm hungry, that's usually what happens, is I'm pretty busy, and then before I realize it, it's noon or 1 o'clock and I haven't had my first meal. And I will say that the protein requirement with breastfeeding and just in general, you want to make sure that you're getting that protein in. So, grabbing a protein shaker or something like that has been helpful in those instances. But I think I am still conflicted as far as where I'm at, like what I want to do, because I really do enjoy working out and getting back down to my baseline. But at the same time, I realize that that's not really the goal. I'm not competing or anything like that. And so it's, I can take my time, and it'll get there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be based off of preference. And I'm not a mom, and I'm not pretending to be one, but I feel like if you prefer to where you want to get in shape a little bit sooner than later, then you're going to have to sacrifice the milk production, which is going to then sacrifice the amount of time that you have that child to breast connection, because you won't be producing much. But if you're someone that finds that extremely important, then you would put the vanity aspect of it on hold. And not that there's any right or wrong answer with that either. I think it's just based off of preference. I think if the kid is healthy and getting all the nutrients it needs, and whether that be by you or just by formula or by a mix of you and formula, I think as long as the baby is getting what it needs, it really shouldn't matter in the end scheme of it.
Yeah, and I think this episode is more just to talk about like my feelings around this, and I know we chatted about doing an episode of maybe getting into like the nitty-gritty of like what are the calorie requirements. I will say as a physician that most physicians recommend breastfeeding just because it's of the benefits to the baby, and so that's kind of where I'm coming from, is where I want to make sure that my baby has the immune benefits from me breastfeeding. I have tried diligently to breastfeed still. My production's not great, but it's still there. I'm still producing. And so, I try to breastfeed as much as I can.
She's on it multiple times, multiple times a day. And even right before bed, like you'll do, because she gets tired and starts to fall asleep. So, give her a nice big bottle and then put her on at the end to get her really tired. But
we've always, our baby also lost a little bit of weight after birth. And so we opted the route of formula feeding her and breastfeeding her from the very beginning. And I knew that was going to be a thing anyway. Even with my first pregnancy, I wasn't able to keep up with the breastfeeding requirement for him because he was such a big kid. But so he was formula and breastfed as well. So I kind of knew that was probably the route we were going to go with her, just to be on the safe side, because she needed to regain her weight before her 2-week appointment. So that was kind of our goal. So I have been breastfeeding her, and I will say that the psychological benefits of breastfeeding, for me at least, I love it. Like, I think it's such a great connection. It is one tool that a mother has over the dads, that is kind of, it's very unique and very cool and very bonding, to have that experience with my baby girl. And so I'm grateful that I'm able to do it, because some, like we talked about, maybe some women by choice or maybe by circumstance aren't able to breastfeed. So I'm grateful that I have this opportunity to do it. But yeah, I think that, as far as the body image goes, it's still a little bit of a struggle. I'd say it's less of a struggle now than it was, 10 years ago. But definitely,
psychologically, not physiologically.
Yeah, exactly. Psychologically. But I know that there's time, and that really, me being able to actually get a workout in is probably the best gift, that besides, having a baby, and that is one of the best gifts, to kind of have that time and to feel good and feel those endorphins. And it helps me be a better mom, because I'm able to then, be more present for my daughter.
Yeah, and I think what we have in terms of like, you call them shifts. It's really just like when you need time, I need time, or whatever. We're able, because I work from home, so I'm here all the time. She's on maternity leave, so it's like the help is here. And when she needs time to have time to herself, take the baby, no questions asked. Same thing with me. If I need to get a workout, or if I got to get out the house because I'm getting cabin fever, that's what we do. And we know the importance, and this is what I would say to any couple out there that has a child together, is give each other some space when it's needed, and don't see it as a burden to allow your spouse a little bit of time away from the baby. It's not a negative thing. Sometimes they just need it. Sometimes they need some time to herself. Like I know Eryn really likes cardio. She gets in her own space. She's and that's her feel good space. So let her go down there for 40-45 minutes, let her do her thing, and let her have her space. With me, it's like going out to a coffee shop and just getting out and just being out and seeing people like bullshit around. That's like, it makes me happy. So she allows that. And we have a good system together. You mentioned the shifts at night where you jump up in the middle of the night and take that, and then I take the early morning. That's going to have to change when you go back to work. But for now, it works. It works for us. And I think we both have a good support system with each other. So
yeah, I will say that I think it's amazing. Like the other day I said, are you sick of me being home yet? Because, usually I work during the week and, we have weekends at home, but I don't think you haven't said anything.
Not yet.
It's been 6 weeks. So
Yeah.
I think we're a pretty good team together. I think it's really important to have a good partner that one you have a child with. So hopefully you made that choice well before you decide to have a kid with. But also that support is crucial, and being a team. Vinny's always been a team player. I have not been on many teams throughout my life, and so he is one amazing team counterpart to help out with
I've had a lot of practice in my early youth playing with teams. But I will say this too, since we're on the topic of couples and some advice. Also, give yourselves your own time together. Like if you have family that can watch the baby that you trust, make use of it. Really do so. We are fortunate enough to have her mom right around here, and so we'll go out to dinner once a week because you need that time with each other. And it doesn't have to be like an all night or anything like that. It's a few hours where you both get away. Your conversations will still surround the baby, so it's not like it's totally forgotten, but it's just a nice little stress relief, and just getting out and just maintaining that relationship you have with your husband and wife. I think that's really, really important to do. So make sure you work in some time if you have the resources to do so. If not, then you guys will have to figure out something that you could do together at home to kind of have that experience. So,
well, I will say that we have been lucky, but this is my second child, so we have my other son that is around, and last weekend we just did a little date night here, and my son came down and talked to us about new rappers that he knew about, and we learned a thing or two, but it was kind of nice just hanging out and having a little bit of adult conversation. My son's 11, but he was able to at least, converse a little bit for some time. So it was nice.
Yeah, we had a little bit of wine, and we made a charcuterie, some cheese and crackers and stuff. And so, it was cool because he came down and kind of just chilled with us, and it was just very relaxed. It wasn't stressful like normally you think it would be with a newborn and an 11-year-old running around the house.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. Anyway, I think, so to anybody out there who's postpartum, and I'd say take your time and enjoy this process. It's very short. I do know that. They babies grow quickly, and before you know it, they are sleeping through the night. And so enjoy the parts where you do get to get up because there is joy in those moments. They'll be gone soon.
And I will say, from a business perspective here, I have worked with a ton, and I will say a ton because it has been a lot of women going through their pregnancy. We have, two clients right now that are actually pregnant. And I work with you to be able to make sure that you're eating enough, eating the right stuff, having all the micronutrients, phytonutrients, everything you need in your diet plan as is, with the ability to have your indulgences. But I've also have a ton of experience with people coming out and shedding that baby weight. But we both have to be on the same page. You have to understand, if you want to diet quicker or sooner than later, what may happen with the milk production. So as long as we talk about that stuff and you want to lose your baby weight, that's what I do here. So, and now we have Dr. Eryn here, who has now 2 babies. So she has twice the experience. And she will also monitor you as well, your internal health. So if that could be a new little niche for us here with Balanced Bodies. But with that being said,
I was going to say we should do the episode where you talk a little bit more about nutrition.
The next episode is going to be about IVF, because that is how little miracle baby Eva was created and born. So we're going to talk about that. I know Dr. Eryn has a lot of research she did for that episode. So that'll be our next episode. Hopefully that's going to be coming out next week, depending on what goes on here at this house. And then the episode after that, we will talk about probably calorie requirements and nutrition for those that are pregnant and postpartum.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you all next week. So on behalf of Balanced Bodies, we just want to say thank you for joining us on this episode of the Balanced Bodies Blueprint.
We are committed to bringing valuable content. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd greatly appreciate it if you can take a moment and like it and leave a 5-star review.
On Apple, just go to the show, scroll down to the bottom and rate it there. If you're on Spotify, go to the show's page, click the 3 dots, and you can rate it there as well.
And if you believe in the power of knowledge, share this episode on your social media to try and get the information out there to as many people as possible.
And as you navigate your own path towards better health, remember that Balanced Bodies is forever in your corner. See you all next week.
The podcast content may include discussions of medical topics and health-related information. However, the information provided should not be considered exhaustive or complete, and it should not be relied upon as a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare providers with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment.